Hi, let's talk today about anxiety versus fear versus worry versus a variety of things, panic. Several people have been asking me to at least address some of that. Um, I've had a lot of issues in my life with regard to certain things, such as when I was in my 20s, I had panic attacks, and I've had anxiety on in a variety of ways over my lifetime. I've had stress, I've had worry, I've had a husband that had cancer for 6 years, I had a son that died at age 35, I have had a severe injury. I mean, there's reasons for it, but I think I've learned a lot along the way about different things. I've certainly had grief from the death of my husband and my son. And they're all kind of similar, but a little different. Okay, so if you're talking about like worry, worry is a sense of doom. Like you're worrying about something, and usually it's something that may happen. It's not always something that did happen. It's triggered by things that did happen, and you're thinking to yourself, but I'm worried now. And I'm worried about, shootings in downtown, or I'm worried now about such and such because my past experience is this. And it sets you up for that sense of doom, okay? There's a saying out there, I've experienced so many horrible things in my lifetime, and some of them actually happened. So that's valid. We worry about a lot of things that never happen. That just it's just not worth it. And as we age, we find out that it is not worth it, I hope. And I hope that we get to the point where we basically refuse to worry. Because worry is, like I say, often not well founded. It's just founded in past experiences that aren't valid anymore, that are over with. And I'm encouraging you today to, if you're a person who's worrying about something right now, to tell yourself that you refuse to worry. Because now some of us are believers, so I've heard that worry is a form of atheism. And that struck me because I am a believer. So I was like, whoa, I do believe in a God. I mean, but there is either a God or there isn't. And so what is worrying doing? It's saying that God isn't in control, or, that I'm in control, or bad doom and gloom is going to happen. So that's my little short statement about worry, okay? Then we get to anxiety, which can be triggered by worry. Anxiety is a little different. Anxiety is a sense of um, fear or impending things without a real cause necessarily. It's triggered by things like worry, but it's a sense of just not sure, but I'm anxious. I feel on edge. I don't feel like myself. I don't like this feeling. It's keeping me awake. It's making me jittery. It's making me anxious. I'm irritable. That's kind of the sense of anxiety. It's almost like a syndrome. It's a, a variety of things that contribute to anxiety. And that's a sense of things, um, uh, not only doom and gloom. You can have anxiety over a test, or an anxiety over a speech, or anxiety over positive things. We all know that. So anxiety in and of itself is kind of intangible. It's a variety of things, and it's probably less um, your makeup than worry. Like some people are just natural worriers, but anxiety is more like you just can't put your finger on it. You just got it. Not sure what triggered it or what started it, or that's a constant sense of uneasiness that may or may not last very long. So anxiety can come and go, whereas a worrier kind of has an underlying undercurrent of worry all the time, if that makes any sense. Panic attacks are can be born of a variety of things, such as trauma and um, practiced anxiety and worry. But panic attacks actually, again, come on with no warning. You're all of a sudden you're very anxious. Sometimes your heart rate races. Sometimes some people have chest pain with panic attacks. Some people just can't breathe very well. And I read a very long book about panic attacks, because that's what I had when I was in my 20s. And the author, I think the book said something like, panic attacks, what you don't know may be harmful or something like. But most people who have a setup for panic attacks are people who are worried about their health, are worried that something's going to hurt them, and panic attacks just show up, and it might be, again, trauma related. So we don't know where it comes from. All of a sudden it's there. We don't know if we heard something, smelled something, whatever, and we're suddenly in a panic attack. It's kind of a sense of, also, panic attacks are characterized by a disassociation. It's kind of like you don't feel like you're in the room with the people or during the situation. Often it happens where people who have panic attacks in a crowd or in a room with people have to, grip the chair that they're sitting on, because they're just like, whoa, where are we? What's going on here? And panic attacks. That the author of the book that I read, it was a great book about panic attacks. It explained them so well, and I just wish I'm better at remembering authors and stuff. But it was a doctor in the South. I can't remember if he was from North Carolina, Virginia, or something. I actually ended up writing him a letter to thank him, but it was so long ago that I don't recall the actual author. I may even still have the book, so if I find it and dig it up, I'll let you all know. But panic attacks are not fatal. That was an important, realistic. They usually last less than, minutes. And you have to get through them. And how to stop panic attacks, there's a variety of literature on that. But I think the greatest advice is to seek some help and see if you can address the panic attack with something that will work for you. That particular doctor was recommending medications, and there's for all kinds of ways people get through panic attacks. I didn't want to medicate mine, but I will say that eventually they did subside, and I don't have panic attacks today. Now, I might be a worrier at times, and then I actually use that tool. I refuse to worry. I refuse to worry about this situation. So another great quote is, if you're going to have a fantasy, you might as well have a good one. Because again, worry is usually about stuff that's made up in your mind. So if I'm going to have a fantasy, I might as well refuse to worry and think of light all around that person or the event or whatever I'm worrying about, and send myself to a good place, or send good to that place. I've also heard and have experienced and practiced the power of just sending a really positive thing mentally to a very worrisome situation, and sending light all around a person or in a person, or so for me that was very helpful, because one time when my husband had cancer, I was extremely worried, and he was going to have surgery soon, and there was a lot going on, and I remember waking up in the night, and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't stop thinking about the horror show that I had playing in my mind, and again, most of it didn't even happen. So I was worrying about stuff that never even happened. But I did have a problem where I sat up and I could hardly breathe, and internally I just thought, and for some reason the thought came to me that I was hurting him, and I was like, hurting him? Yeah, what are you talking? What? What are you talking about? Where are you coming from? But it made me realize that negativity can be transmitted, as can positivity and prayer and whatever else, So I remember thinking, I'm going to send light. And so I sent light over my husband, and I imagined him in light, like in the sunlight. And that all of a sudden I saw this wonderful light on him. And I immediately fell asleep. And I was doing fine. And I use that technique to this day. But I tell a lot of people about that, to send light, not darkness. There's a lot of truth in that. So what you think about, you bring about, right? So, there's so many cliches about all of that. I don't mean to minimize, because I've been through a lot of this. And I've used a bunch of tools over time. We'll talk again on another Nurse Chat about grief. Grief is a whole different subject, and it's a whole different animal, if you will, and depression. But anxiety, worry, panic attacks, they kind of get lumped together, and they're not all the same. So refuse to worry. If you have Anxiety, understand that that's your response to some trigger, and there was a trigger. And what's the trigger? We don't know sometimes. So what we do is we get through it with our good tools, and we there's a million of them out there. So I'll probably talk more about that in the future. But until next time, great to see you again. I'm looking forward to our next chat. Take care.